about how one of my mentorship students got $2,500 per month in recurring revenues from 4 clients who signed up. Now, the significant part about this is that each one of those clients actually said no to her a month ago. So, one thing that a lot of people struggle with is rejection when it comes to being in business. And I understand it's very hard when you're first starting out and you're maybe like face a lot of rejection or people just aren't really wanting to work with you, even though they might come on your consultation calls and say they really want your help for like the whole 45-minute call that end up just not working with you. So I'm gonna be talking like how to kind of get over that. And what you do if maybe you talk to someone, they say they're interested, but they just don't sign up with you right away. Now also, if you want some help growing your business, like maybe you're just getting started and like maybe you just there's a lot of stuff that you just know that you don't know and you want to avoid a lot of the mistakes, or maybe you've been trying to grow your business for some time now but it's just not quite growing at the rate or speed with which you'd like. If that's you, go ahead and click the link inside the description either above or below the video to book a call with myself or a member of my team to see if we can help you inside of our program. So let's attack this thing. So number one, marketing is generally going to be the thing that you need to start getting leads, right? Because I mean, like, if you don't have any consultation calls, then you're just not going to have anyone to follow up with. So, two main methodologies I like using are LinkedIn. Second one's going to be partnerships. Now, I do, I kind of like LinkedIn as like more of like a long term system because that's just the one that I built up more. But in terms of like one that's like more beginner friendly, is more of our partnership method. Now, whichever methodology you like using, you're gonna have to understand that like both are gonna require some amount of work. So, for example, LinkedIn, the work comes with understanding how to utilize the platform to get in front of the right people. So, like, who are you supposed to be contacting? What type of business owners do you like to talk to? What should you say to them once that you're contacting them? Should you post or should you just use relationships? Once you have found the person who's like interested, what do you say to get them on the phone? How do you qualify them to see like if they're actually valid and worthy of your time? And then from there, how do you actually go and close the deal? And if you don't close the deal on the first call, like you have to follow up, right? With partnerships, it's generally a little bit easier, right? Because it's just more about like how can you get the partner to well, first you have to understand like who's your ideal partner. Next, you need to understand, what should you be saying in order to get them interested in even meeting with you in the first place, right? That's 90% of the battle with partnerships is just getting them to want to do a call with you to even be thinking about like referring people to you. Once they start wanting to like refer work to you, it's generally very, very consistent. So there's a lot less moving pieces when it comes to partnership, which is why I like think it's like more of a beginner friendly methodology for most people. So that's number one. Next thing is going to be like, so when you're doing your consultation call, there's a couple of things that you need to have inside of your consultation call in order to really make sure that you are, it looks like someone actually booked a call. Cool. That's great. Sorry, you have to check. Someone booked a call with us. Um, but the reason why it's important to really structure your consultation call rather than winging it is so you understand like is a person ready to get started with you like today, or it's gonna be like a 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 year kind of client that you need to follow up with, right? So generally inside of your Q&A, one question I like to ask is, so I guess if we kind of talk about and we discuss kind of meet your criteria and you think it's something that can really help you, when are you kind of thinking about moving forward? Right? And in that kind of situation, they're going to tell you, either, okay, maybe a week, a day, a year, a decade, whatever, and they're going to tell you right there. Now, another way you can ask that question, this is kind of, I prefer this way because I kind of ask leading questions. I get people to kind of get people to give me the responses I need in order to like make sure that we're kind of in alignment. It's generally like, well, why do you feel that now is a good time to like handle your bookkeeping situation rather than just waiting for I don't know like 3 6 months from now, right? And then from there they tell you, well, I need to get this thing done now because of A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Now, I like that methodology because you can kind of use as like a leverage point at the end of the call. They say like they need to think about it or they don't know if they're ready to move forward. It's like, well, you did kind of say earlier that you were looking to get started like sooner rather than later. And then based on that, you can kind of see what objections are they going to be posing to you. Like, is it going to be like a timing objection? Is it a cash flow objection? Is they just don't see the value? Is it just they don't trust you? Is it just they don't want to work with you? Is it just they somewhere along the line you said something they're confused about, right? And it gives you a lot of different like points you can kind of jump off on and you can kind of like just really dissect. Now, let's assume that the person has told you that they're ready to get started now, but they might have like a really kind of like busy week, so they don't know if they're actually going to get back to you within like a regular period of time. Okay, cool. That's cool. Not everyone's going to go forward with you on the first time you speak to them. That is to be expected. Like 50% of people are going to work with you are people that say no, or maybe they even say yes, but they just kind of like ghost you. Now, if you do this the wrong way, you will come across as pushy, and it is very easy to kind of lose the sale. But if you do it correctly, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about the different stages in a second, then it does make it very consistent. So, for example, inside of follow up, there's generally about 4 to 5 main stages you have to take someone through in order to make sure that someone's actually going to sign up with you consistently. Now, again, just like with your consultation call, like you could wing this stuff, but it's like if I personally would not want to wing something that's important to my life as my business, right? So I always try and have like a process or a procedure in how I'm going to do that. I have like a marketing process, I have a pricing process, I have a sales process, I have a follow up process, I have an onboarding process, I have a client retention process, right? I have a lot of these different processes in place because I want to make it so my business can run without me, and I want to make sure that I'm always having very consistent results. So number one stage is going to be value into the void. So oftentimes what happens is you're going to do your consultation call. They're going to give you some kind of objection or excuse at the end of the call. You're basically going to then send a message like a couple of days, like probably with your invoice, like via email, which that's what a lot of people do. I kind of like taking payment over the phone, at least for the first payment, like a deposit at least. But I know a lot of people like they like doing email invoice, right? So you're gonna send that email invoice, and they're probably gonna say nothing, or your email invoicing software is going to say like they looked at the contract, but they or looked at the engagement letter or whatever you're sending, and they just didn't do anything with it, right? And you're going to keep seeing that maybe like 2 or 3 times over the next like 2 weeks. So your job there is just to get them to reply. Like you don't necessarily need them to buy, it's just get them to reply because you need to start seeing like how far away from the sale are you actually in the grand scheme of things, and is this person actually someone who potentially could end up working with you? Okay. So number one, you're going to need to go into the void. So I like doing this a couple ways. I like doing every 15 days, I'm trying to like message and contact the person in order to like, understand like where the person is. So I'll send like an article, I'll send like a news release, I will send like maybe there's like an industry update, or I'll send like if I know like they like a specific sport, I'll send them like some kind of like article. I'm gonna message them something about like, hey, how is life kind of going? So the first message is generally gonna be something that either like helps them out in life or something that like makes them kind of like feel a little bit closer to you, and then just gets them to reply. The second message every like maybe like the 30th day, I'm going to see something to move the relationship and the conversation forward. So it's going to be something along the lines of like, I know a month ago we said that we were looking to kind of get started within this kind of time frame. Is this still something that you're really interested in working with? Now they're either going to say like no, or they're going to give you nothing. Ideally, what you want for them to do is to give you some kind of reply. Even if they give you a no, that's okay because then you can understand like, okay, so when you say no, I guess like what's kind of changed since the last time we spoke, right? Because the biggest thing is not necessarily getting someone to buy. The biggest thing is making sure that you're getting the right objections, because the objections that you don't get or don't understand are the objections that cause you to lose the sale, right? So all sales is really getting an understanding of where the other person stands, what they find valuable, and how they make decisions so you can understand how to position your service or yourself in a way that makes it just the most logical decision for them to want to move forward with you. That's all that sales is. It's not pressuring people. It's not, saying magic lines. It's not having the perfect script. It's just really understanding like the person you're speaking with. Now, we do give you scripts because it allows you to be able to like take your mind off of what to say and instead of focus on the other person and really handle all those objections. But at the end of the day, that's really as simple as it gets, right? So like it's like your questions are going to be like very similar. The way that you look at people are going to be very similar, but it's just like understanding like how to really adapt to the moment. Like if someone gives you an answer you don't want or you don't expect, or they say something like, "Oh, I think I can do it myself," right? You need to be able to handle those objections and really know like where to go. Now, we do give you scripts inside of our program, like what to say and like even how to do like objection handling, both before you drop your price and after you drop your price. When I say before you drop your price, it's like it's always easy to handle objections before they become like an objection. When they're an obstacle in the beginning of the call, if you help someone understand like why what they're thinking probably isn't the best way to think, they shift it. Now, once you kind of set what your price is, oftentimes another variable. And in some cases, it might be like something that's more than what the other person's kind of like thinking or planning that they wanted to spend. And in that case, you have to be able to like calm them down, just like make sure they feel like really, really good about what you're doing. So that's really gonna be important when it comes to there. Give me one sec. My teammate just texted me. Not yet. So now we're in value inside the void. Okay, so let's assume that you started getting them to reply. Okay, so every 15 days, you either send them something like relationship building, like an article or something about like maybe you have children that have like something in common, or maybe you talked about like you both like the same sports team. That's the first one, like the 15 days after your initial contact. Second 30 days is generally going to be like one message that moves the conversation forward. Just keep alternating. Friendly, move. Friendly, move. Friendly, move. Over and over again until you go and get the person to say that they're objecting to working with you. Now we're looking for the objection. Okay, so the objection is really important because we're looking to see like where they are. Where are you? What am I facing? What am I actually? What's my head? What am I headed against? Right? I need to know what I'm headed up and what I'm like facing in order for me to be able to actually like overcome it. So after you've overcame that objection, like we can give you a lot of different like objection handling like scripts as well as paths and ways to kind of like help people like make different decisions and change their mind. Now, I prefer not to do a lot of like hard shifting, especially when you're a beginner, right? You just need to be able to have like some really just basic ones you can use, like just kind of like move people, right? So you're not gonna like be the best at objection handling, but the point isn't to become like a really, really a masterful salesperson. It's just to be good enough to be able to like close the opportunities that are very easily closable. So next, once you've done the objection, generally they're going to have some sort of like negotiation. Now, when I say negotiation, it's not always just about lowering your price in a negotiation. You don't have to lower your price, right? You can give someone, let's say the cleanup is $12,000. You could give someone a payment plan. So let's say that, okay, so they know that they're going to have, what is that? $3,000 coming in every month from a new product line. Okay, so I'm going to do 25% of the cleanup. First, you give me 3,000, I'll do 25%. Give me the next set of 3,000, I'll do another 25%. You give me another 3,000, I'll do another 25%. Right? You can do the chunks every week apart or every month apart. Right? So that's one way you can negotiate. Another thing you can negotiate is, okay, I will do this service plus I'll do this other thing. Right? Maybe you have like some bonus, like maybe you're an insurance agent and you can kind of take a look at some of like their insurance policies. Maybe you do like credit repair on top of your bookkeeping, right? And you can add that service in as well for the same price. It just depends, right? Another thing is you could negotiate on the start date. You could negotiate on how many hours they might need. You could negotiate on like what is the actual like. Do they want only the cleanup? Do they want you to get started on monthly work? Do they also need payroll, right? So it's like all the different like factors around the decision, like the logistics, is generally what you want to negotiate on based on this. Cool. Now, once you've done that, the next step is proposal sign slash send. Okay. Very, very simple. Most people know how to do this. There's a lot of different software you can use to send a proposal. I prefer to just send one using like DocuSign, but that's just me. Next thing is going to be everything signed, closed, you have the money in hand, and now you're moving. Okay. That's the main way this client has done it. So in December, we had to do a holiday campaign. Basically, the people had like around every major holiday, we tell you like what to say to get people to be like, oh, they just reactivate. Essentially, it's I call it a holiday campaign. In traditional marketing and sales, they call it a reactivation campaign. It's just every person that's on your list or your prospecting list, you're basically reactivating them and getting them to like start a conversation again. That's not necessarily related to moving the deal forward. So very similar to how we talked about the first 15 days is something just like fun to get people going, right? So in this case, the holiday campaign is that first 15 days. Once the people respond, then your job is to move the relationship forward. So she tried to move the relationship forward. A good portion of them said, hey, maybe after the holidays or not right now, or hey, I know we talked before, but your price is too expensive. So then what she did was she kept talking, kept talking, kept talking, and then four of them actually signed up, right? That led to about $2,500 per month in monthly recurring revenue. But again, they said no to her at one time. Now, if this is most people would never have gotten those clients back because as soon as someone tells them no, they get very, very nervous or they just don't like move. And it's like it's okay to like keep talking to someone or to keep following up. Like a lot of people like they say like I don't want to be pushy or I don't want to come across as annoying. Number one, if most business owners don't really view it as pushy, they just view it as like being like reminding them stuff and like following up. Like in the business world, following up is a good thing, right? In the civilian world, where it's just like maybe like your spouse is like not doing something, you have to feel like you have to remind them like, hey, can you take out the trash? Hey, can you clean this up? Like that can be considered like nagging. But when you're in the business world, everything switches. people need to be reminded. Like there's a million different things. Like I'm gonna get off this training right now, and I'm sure there's like 5 or 6 different things that have gone on in the last hour that I have to go and like look at and talk to or talk to my team, right? So it's like if I don't get reminded about certain things, then it's just like it just kind of happens where it's like things kind of like just move and stuff, right? So you need to be in their face. And also it's like, you kind of got to get over being pushy, right? You're when most people what they think of as pushy, they think of as like a used cars person who it's like they're trying to push something that someone doesn't want. Versus for our service, a person's not going to get on a call with you for like 45 minutes for a consultation unless they're interested in trying to solve a specific solution. So they basically give you permission to help them change their mind, understand like what to be thinking, right? The only people that like are like, oh, I don't want to be pushy are people that don't really make much money, you know? And that's not like mean. I'm just saying, like, you have to kind of overcome that. And like a lot of that pressure is not necessarily what they're feeling, it's how you're feeling about how you talk about your service. In a lot of cases, like maybe I'd recommend like boosting some confidence, maybe watching some of our sales video to kind of talk about an easier way to do consultation calls so you don't feel like you're pushing. Instead, it's more of like you're uncovering the right answers that a person like wants, and you're really just seeing, okay, this person actually does want to work with me, and now it's just about giving the right information. So if you feel like you're pushy, Tyler, because like a confidence thing, or because you just, maybe you just don't know what you're doing, so it actually does feel like you have to pressure people in order for them to want to work with you, which is really hard, and that's probably why in a lot of cases you're not making a lot of sales with higher types of buyers, right? Because it's like you're not gonna like pressure someone to pay you like 3 grand a month. Like those kind of people are gonna pay that. Like they're kind of immune to a lot of pressure on sales calls. So you're not going to be able to pressure someone, right? So if that's what you think you have to do in order to like be good at sales, that that would suggest that maybe you don't have a good enough process in place to be able to not have to use force when you're communicating. Okay. And once you kind of get to that point to where you don't have to use force, instead it just feels more fun, and you're just talking to people, and at the end of the day that give you money, that's when sales does become a lot more fun, and like your consultation calls are like something you look forward to rather than just something that just kind of happens like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like get any money, or I don't know if they're gonna want to work with me. Yeah. Awesome, cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new. I know we kind of talked about some different things we usually talk about. So if you want some help growing your business, like maybe you've been thinking about like, trying to grow your business, but for whatever reason it's just not quite working, go ahead and book a call by clicking the link inside the description or above or below the video to book a call with myself to see if like we can help you inside of our program. So in a lot of cases, like we are getting like oversubscribed, like the number of people that are like applying to join our program now. Like that's not necessarily a bad thing because like we do only accept about like 10 to 12 people per month, right? So there are like a portion of people who we sometimes like will say, hey, maybe it's not quite the best time. Like there are certain criteria we need you to meet in order for it to be like a really good fit. So in a lot of cases, like if my schedule allows, then I take the call with you. If it doesn't because we're just oversubscribed or I have like a lot of like coaching obligations or like my accounting firm is just kind of like blowing up for that day, then sometimes you'll speak to like one of my team members, right? And they'll just really point you in the right direction, see if our program's a good fit for you, then help you go and make a decision to see like, whether you want to do it now, later, or in the future. Okay. So if that's you, I will see you on the call. If you're not quite ready, it's okay. I will see you inside the next video. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.